200 texts on theology and the incarnate dispensation of the Son of God by St. Maximus the Confessor. 1st century on theology. God is one, unoriginate, incomprehensible, possessing completely the total potentiality of being, altogether excluding notions of when and how, inaccessible to all, and not to be known through natural image by any creature. So far as we are able to understand, for himself God does not constitute either an origin or an intermediary state or a consummation or anything else that can be seen to qualify natural things that are sequent to him. For he is undetermined, unchanging, and infinite, since he is infinitely beyond all being, potentiality, and actualization. Every being whose self-limitation is intrinsic to its nature, the origin of the activity perceived as potentially present within it. Every natural activity in the process of actualization, and such activity is, on the conceptual level, sequent to being itself, but prior to its own actualization, is an intermediary state, since by nature it lies between the being in which is present potentiality and its own actualization. Every actualization, limited as natural it is by its own inner principle, is the consummation of that activity which has its origin in the being and which, conceptually speaking, precedes the actualization. God is not a being, either in general or in any specific sense of the word, and so he cannot be an origin, nor is he a potentiality either in general or in any specific sense, and so he is not an intermediary state. Nor is he an actualization in the general or in the specific sense, and so he cannot be the consummation of that activity which proceeds from a being in which that is perceived to pre-exist as potentiality. On the contrary, he is the author of being, and simultaneously an entity transcending being. He is the author of potentiality and simultaneously the ground transcending potentiality, and he is the active and inexhaustible state of all actualization. In short, he is the author of all being, potentiality, and actualization, and of every origin, intermediary state, and consummation. Origin, the intermediary state, and consummation characterize things divided by time, as indeed they characterize things existing in the aeon. For time, by which change is measured, is defined numerically, while the aeon, whose existence presupposes a when, possesses dimensionality, since its existence has an origin. And if time and the aeon have an origin, how much more so will those things that exist within them. God by nature is always one and alone, substantively and absolutely containing in himself all inclusively the totality of the substantive being, since he transcends even substantiveness itself. If this is so, there is nothing whatsoever among all the things to which we ascribe being that possesses substantive being. Thus, nothing whatsoever different in essence from God can be envisaged as coexisting with him from eternity. Neither the aeon, nor time, nor anything which exists within them. For substantive being and being which is not substantive never coincide. No origin, intermediary state, or consummation can ever be altogether free from that category of relationship. God, being infinitely beyond every kind of relationship, is by nature neither an origin, nor an intermediary state, nor consummation, nor any of those things to which it is possible to apply the category of relationship. Created beings are termed intelligible because each of them has an origin that cannot be known rationally. But God cannot be termed intelligible, while from our apprehension of the intelligible beings we can do no more than believe that he exists. On this account, no intelligible being is in any way to be compared with him. Created beings can be known rationally by means of the inner principles which are by nature intrinsic to such beings and by which they are naturally defined. But from our apprehension of these principles inherent in created beings, we can do no more than believe that God exists. To the devout believer, God gives something more sure than any proof, the recognition of the faith that he substantively is. Faith is true knowledge, the principles of which are beyond rational demonstration. For faith makes real for us things beyond intellect and reason. God is the origin, intermediary state, and consummation of all created things, but is acting upon things not as acted upon, which is also the case where everything else we call him is concerned. He is origin as creator, intermediary state, and He is origin as creator, intermediary state as provident ruler, and consummation as final end. For Scripture says, all things from him and through him and have him as their goal. That was centuries 1 through 10 on the 200 texts on theology from St. Maximus the Confessor, found in volume 2 of the Philokalia. If you like this, please subscribe to this channel and also see the link below for my Telegram page where we keep up with the saints and the Psalms on a daily basis.